Ladies and gentlemen, life is suffering. This is an ancient truth, and it is inescapable. Chaos is always lurking at the edges, waiting to consume you. And if you don't take responsibility, if you don't set yourself in order, it will consume you. So ask yourself, are you who you could be? Are you living up to your potential? Or are you letting procrastination, fear, and resentment pull you into the depths? Because here's the reality: no one is coming to save you. No one is going to clean up the mess you've made. That's your job, and you can do it. Do it. You have to start by fixing the smallest things. Clean your room, sort out your daily habits, stop lying to yourself. Because if you don't have your own house in order, how can you possibly hope to fix anything else? The path forward is not easy, but it's meaningful. And meaning is what keeps the chaos at bay. So today we're going to talk about how you can take control, how you can bring order to your life, and how you can step up to become something greater. Because that is what you were made for. That is what you were made for. That is what you owe to yourself and to the world. Taking responsibility is the foundation of personal growth and transformation. It is the recognition that your life, with all its struggles and shortcomings, is ultimately within your control. The moment you decide to take responsibility, you stop being a victim of circumstances and start being an active participant in shaping your destiny. This is not an easy path, nor is it comfortable. It requires you to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself, your weaknesses, your failures, and the ways in which you have contributed to your own suffering. But in doing so, you reclaim power over your life. You stop being a passive observer, subject to the whims of fate, and become the person who determines what happens next. Many people avoid responsibility because it is difficult. It is far easier to blame society, your upbringing, or the unfairness of life itself for your problems. And to some extent, these things may very well have played a role. Life is not fair. Some people are born into wealth, others into poverty. Some have loving parents, others grow up in broken homes. But no matter where you start, the fundamental truth remains the same. No one is coming to save you. You must take charge of your own existence, or you will remain stuck in the same cycle of disappointment and resentment. Responsibility is not about self-blame. It is about recognizing your capacity to act. If something is wrong in your life, ask yourself what you can do to fix it. You may not be able to change everything at once, but you can always take a step forward, no matter how small. The alternative is helplessness, and helplessness breeds bitterness. People who refuse to take responsibility for their lives become cynical, resentful, and often destructive, both to themselves and those around them. They become trapped in a narrative of victimhood, always waiting for someone else to make things right. But the truth is, waiting will get you nowhere. Taking responsibility means making choices with intention. It means acknowledging that your habits, your discipline, and your mindset all contribute to your current reality. If you are struggling financially, you must examine your spending habits, your work ethic, and your skills. If your relationships are suffering, you must consider how you communicate, how you handle conflict, and whether you are truly present for the people in your life. If your health is deteriorating, you must take an honest look at your diet, exercise, and lifestyle choices. These are not easy conversations to have with yourself, but they are necessary, because the moment you accept responsibility, you open the door to improvement. One of the most powerful aspects of responsibility is that it gives your life meaning. When you take responsibility, you commit to something greater than yourself. You strive to be better, not just for your own sake, but for the sake of those around you. Responsibility is the antidote to despair. It gives you purpose. It pushes you forward, even when the road is difficult. And it transforms you into someone who is capable of handling the burdens of life with strength and dignity. There is no shortcut to responsibility. It is a daily practice, a series of choices that over time shape the course of your life. It requires self-discipline, honesty, and the willingness to endure hardship. But the alternative Living in denial, blaming others, and refusing to take control is far worse. Because in the end, taking responsibility is not just about improving your circumstances. It is about becoming the kind of person who can withstand the chaos of life without crumbling under its weight. Cleaning your room may seem like a trivial task, but it is a symbolic and practical act that represents bringing order to the chaos of your life. Your external environment is a direct reflection of your internal state. If your room is a mess, if your workspace is cluttered, if your belongings are scattered and disorganized, it is often an indication that your mind is in similar state. Chaos manifests physically just as it does psychologically, and when you live in disarray, it reinforces feelings of confusion, stagnation, and lack of control. The simple act of organizing your space is a way to reclaim authority over at least one aspect of your life. It is a tangible step toward order, a demonstration that you are capable of making improvements, no matter how small they may seem. People often feel overwhelmed by the enormity of their problems. They look at their lives and see failures, missed opportunities, and unresolved conflicts. The weight of these issues can be paralyzing, making it difficult to know where to begin. But the truth is, you don't have to fix everything at once. You don't have to solve all your problems in a single day. What you can do, however, is start where you are. And for most people, the easiest place to start is with the physical space they inhabit. If your room is a mess, clean it. If your desk is covered in papers, organize them. If your clothes are scattered across the floor, pick them up. These are simple tasks, but they serve as the foundation for a greater transformation. Cleaning your room is about more than just tidiness. It is a psychological exercise in discipline and responsibility. It forces you to engage with reality, to confront the disorder that has accumulated over time, and to impose structure upon it. It is an act of self-respect, a way of demonstrating to yourself that you are worth the effort of creating a clean and orderly environment. Many people underestimate the power of small actions, believing that only grand gestures lead to meaningful change. But that is not true. The small things matter because they set the stage for bigger things. If you cannot take control of your immediate surroundings, how can you expect to take control of the more complex aspects of your life? There is also a deep psychological connection between your environment and your mental well-being. Studies have shown that a cluttered space can contribute to feelings of stress, anxiety, and even depression. When you live in disorder, your mind is constantly processing the chaos around you, even if you are not consciously aware of it. This drains mental energy and makes it more difficult to focus on important tasks. Conversely, an organized space promotes clarity of thought, improves mood, and enhances productivity. It creates a sense of calm and stability, allowing you to approach life's challenges with a clearer and more composed mindset. Cleaning your room is also a metaphor for taking responsibility for your own existence. It is an acknowledgement that you are in charge of your own surroundings, that you have the power to shape your environment rather than be shaped by it. Many people go through life feeling as though they are at the mercy of external forces, believing that their problems are the result of circumstances beyond their control. But when you take the initiative to clean your room, you prove to yourself that you do have control over something. And once you realize that you can begin to expand that control outward, applying the same principles to other areas of your life. Discipline is a habit, and it starts with the smallest thing. When you make your bed in the morning, when you put things back where they belong, when you take the time to maintain order in your space, you are reinforcing a mindset of responsibility and self-discipline. These small actions accumulate over time, creating a foundation of stability that allows you to take on greater challenges. You might think that cleaning your room is insignificant, that it won't change anything meaningful in your life, but that is precisely the kind of thinking that keeps people stuck. The truth is, the way you do one thing is often the way you do everything. If you neglect the small things, you are likely neglecting bigger things as well. If you let disorder take over your immediate surroundings, you may also be allowing disorder to take over your habits, your relationships, and your goals. Order does not emerge on its own. Chaos is the natural state of things. And if you do nothing, disorder will only grow. This applies to everything in life, from your living space to your career to your personal development. If you want things to improve, you must take deliberate action. And that action begins with the smallest, most immediate tasks. Cleaning your room is a physical manifestation of this principle. Plus, it is a reminder that change starts with what is right in front of you. It is proof that even in the midst of chaos, you have the ability to impose order, to take control, and to move forward one small step at a time. Speaking the truth is one of the most fundamental responsibilities you have, both to yourself and to the world. It is not just about avoiding lies, though that is an essential part of it. It is about being precise with your words, about ensuring that what you say aligns with reality, and about refusing to distort the truth for the sake of comfort or convenience. Many people do not realize how often they deceive themselves and others. They tell small lies to avoid conflict, exaggerate to make themselves look better, or omit details to escape responsibility. Over time, these small distortions accumulate, and before they know it, they are living in a web of deception so tangled that even they cannot discern what is real and what is fabricated. The problem with dishonesty is that it corrupts everything it touches. A single lie might seem insignificant, but lies multiply. The moment you say something that is not true, you create an alternate version of reality, one that does not exist. And to maintain that illusion, you must tell more lies, must adjust your actions and words to support the falsehood, must shape your thinking around a narrative that is fundamentally untrue. This is how people lose themselves. They build an identity not on what is real, but on what is convenient or socially acceptable. They become estranged from their own values, from their own authentic voice, and from the things that truly matter. Telling the truth is difficult because it requires courage. It demands that you face reality as it is rather than as you wish it to be. It means admitting when you are wrong, acknowledging when you have failed, and recognizing when your desires or emotions are clouding your judgment. Most people avoid the truth because it is painful. It forces them to confront their weaknesses, to take responsibility for their actions, and to accept the harsh realities of existence. But avoiding the truth does not make those realities disappear. It only makes them harder to deal with when they inevitably surface. The longer you avoid facing the truth, the more damage is done, and the more difficult it becomes to set things right. Truth is not just about external honesty. It is also about being truthful with yourself. Self-deception is one of the greatest obstacles. It is easy to justify bad habits, to make excuses for failure, and to convince yourself that things are better than they really are. But deep down, you know when you are lying to yourself. You know when you are avoiding a difficult truth. The problem is that self-deception leads to stagnation. If you refuse to see things as they are, you cannot make meaningful improvements. You will continue to repeat the same mistakes, to fall into the same traps, and to wonder why nothing ever changes. The first step toward real growth is to look at yourself honestly, to assess your strengths and weaknesses without bias, and to acknowledge where you need to do better. Speaking the truth also strengthens your relationships. Trust is built on honesty, and without it, relationships crumble. When people lie, even about small things, they erode the foundation of trust that holds relationships together. They create doubt, uncertainty, and suspicion. Even if a lie is never discovered, it still damages the liar. It forces them to live inauthentically, to constantly monitor their words and actions to maintain the deception. And when the truth does come out, as it often does, the damage is far worse than if they had been honest from the beginning. People respect those who tell the truth, even when it is difficult to hear. They may not always like what you say, but they will know that your words are reliable, that you mean what you say, and that you can be trusted. Truth has power. It cuts through confusion, clarifies situations, and provides a solid foundation on which to build your life. Lies, on the other hand, create instability. They distort perception, lead to poor decisions, and ultimately bring suffering. Many people lie because they believe it will protect them from consequences, from rejection, from pain, but lies do not provide real protection. They offer only temporary relief, followed by deeper problems. The truth may be difficult to face, but it is always preferable to living in illusion. Living truthfully does not mean being reckless with your words or using honesty as a weapon to harm others. It means speaking with integrity, saying only what you truly believe, and ensuring that your words align with reality. It means being mindful of how you express yourself, ensuring that your honesty serves a purpose beyond mere bluntness. There is a way to tell the truth that is both firm and compassionate, that acknowledges reality while also being considerate of others. Speaking the truth does not mean being needlessly cruel, but it does mean refusing to bend reality to suit someone's feelings. Truth provides stability. It allows you to stand firmly in reality, to navigate life with confidence, and to build relationships based on trust and authenticity. It is not always easy, and it is rarely comfortable, but it is necessary. Those who speak the truth, even when it is difficult, become stronger. They become people who can be relied upon, who can make sound decisions, who can face life without fear. They build a foundation for themselves that cannot be easily shaken because it is rooted in what is real rather than what is convenient. Aiming at something is fundamental to living a meaningful and structured life. Without a goal, you are directionless, drifting through existence without a sense of purpose or urgency. People who lack an aim often find themselves feeling lost, uncertain, and anxious because they do not have a clear path forward. They wake up every day without a reason that compels them to act, without a vision of the future they are striving toward. This kind of aimlessness leads to stagnation, and stagnation leads to despair. If you do not have something to work towards, something that gives your life structure, you become vulnerable to distractions, addictions, and the gradual decay of your potential. Choosing a goal gives you a framework to operate within. It provides structure and direction, allowing you to make decisions with a sense of purpose. When you have a target, you can assess your actions based on whether they bring you closer to or further from that goal. Without this structure, everything seems equally meaningless. People who lack a clear aim often find themselves paralyzed by indecision, unable to move forward because they have not defined what forward means. But when you have a goal, even a small one, it creates a sense of progress, a reason to push through difficulties, and a standard by which to measure improvement. Aiming at something does not mean you have to be absolutely certain that it is the perfect goal. Many people refuse to set goals because they fear choosing the wrong one. They become stuck in a cycle of overthinking, waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect plan. But this hesitation is a trap. It is better to aim at something, even if it is not the ultimate goal, than to aim at nothing at all. A goal, even an imperfect one, creates momentum. It forces you to act, to learn, and to adjust as you go. And as you move forward, your aim will become more precise. You will discover what truly matters to you, what you are capable of, and what needs to change. But none of that can happen if you remain stuck in place, afraid to make a decision. Setting a goal also forces you to confront the gap between where you are and where you want to be. This can be uncomfortable because it highlights your shortcomings and the work that needs to be done. But discomfort is necessary for growth. If you refuse to acknowledge where you are failing, you will never improve. Aiming at something requires honesty with yourself. It demands that you assess your strengths and weaknesses objectively so that you can formulate a plan to move forward. This kind of self-awareness is difficult, but it is essential. It allows you to identify what is holding you back and take steps to correct it. Having a goal also disciplines your behavior. When you know what you are aiming at, it becomes easier to resist distractions and temptations. People who lack goals often fall into destructive habits because they do not have a compelling reason to stay disciplined. They procrastinate, waste time, and engage in activities that provide short-term pleasure but lead to long-term regret. A clear goal changes this dynamic. It forces you to prioritize what is truly important over what is immediately gratifying. It teaches you to delay gratification, to sacrifice comfort for progress, and to develop the resilience needed to push through obstacles. Progress toward a meaningful goal generates a sense of fulfillment. Humans are wired to strive, to improve, and to overcome challenges. When you set a goal and make progress, even small progress, it gives your life a sense of accomplishment. It provides motivation to continue, reinforcing the belief that your efforts matter. Without this sense of progress, life can feel empty and monotonous. Many people fall into cycles of depression and anxiety because they feel as though they are going nowhere. They are stuck, not because they lack ability, but because they lack a target to aim at. Aiming at something also gives you the ability to handle suffering. Life is difficult and no one escapes hardship. But having a goal provides a reason to endure suffering, to push through difficulties rather than be overwhelmed by them. It transforms suffering into something meaningful, something that contributes to a greater purpose rather than being meaningless pain. People who have no goal often crumble in the face of adversity because they have nothing to anchor them, nothing to remind them why enduring hardship is worthwhile. But those who have a clear aim can withstand suffering because they see it as part of the journey, as a necessary challenge on the path towards something greater. Your aim does not have to be grand at first. It can start small, getting in better shape, improving a skill, repairing a broken relationship, becoming more disciplined in daily habits. The important thing is to pick something and start moving toward it. As you progress, your vision will expand and your capacity to achieve greater things will grow. But none of that happens if you refuse to aim. If you do not choose a goal, life will choose one for you, and it may not be one you want. And setting an aim gives you control over your own trajectory, allowing you to shape your future rather than be shaped by circumstances. Confronting chaos is one of the most fundamental challenges of life. Chaos is everywhere. It exists in the uncertainty of the future, in the difficulties of relationships, in the struggles of daily existence. It represents everything unknown, unpredictable, and potentially overwhelming. Many people avoid chaos because it is frightening. They prefer stability, predictability, and comfort, even if it means remaining stagnant. But avoiding chaos does not make it disappear. It only grows stronger, waiting for the moment when avoidance is no longer possible. When that moment arrives, those who have refused to face chaos find themselves unprepared, weak, and incapable of handling the inevitable difficulties that life brings. Chaos comes in many forms. It might appear as an unresolved conflict that festers over time, as an unfulfilled potential that gnaws at the edges of your consciousness, or as a disorder in your daily routine that gradually erodes your sense of control. So, it can take the form of external challenges, financial struggles, career uncertainty, unexpected tragedies. It can also exist within self-doubt, fear, addiction, destructive habits. No one is free from chaos, and no one can avoid it forever. The only choice is whether to confront it willingly or wait for it to consume you. Those who confront chaos early, who voluntarily step into the unknown and impose order upon it, become stronger. Those who ignore it find themselves at its mercy when it inevitably crashes into their lives. Facing chaos is not the same as recklessness. It does not mean throwing yourself into danger without preparation. It means looking at the disorder in your life and making the conscious decision to engage with it rather than ignore it. It requires identifying the areas where you are avoiding responsibility, where fear is dictating your actions, and where discomfort is keeping you from making necessary changes. This is not easy. Chaos is intimidating because it forces you to acknowledge that you are not as in control as you would like to believe. It reveals your weaknesses, your insecurities, and your limitations. But it also presents an opportunity for growth. The person who steps forward into chaos, who willingly takes on the burden of responsibility and faces the unknown, is the person who becomes capable of creating order. Order does not emerge on its own. It is something that must be built brick by brick through deliberate action. A chaotic life does not simply resolve itself over time. If you are struggling, if you feel lost, if your world feels like it is spiraling out of control, the solution is not to wait for things to get better on their own. It is to take action, to do whatever is within your power to establish order. order. This might mean setting clear goals, confronting unresolved conflicts, establishing discipline in your daily habits, or seeking out new knowledge and skills to navigate uncertainty more effectively. The process is difficult, and there will be setbacks, but every step taken toward order is a step away from the grip of chaos. The more you confront chaos, the more competent you become. People who avoid difficulty remain weak because they never develop the skills necessary to overcome adversity. Strength is not something that is given, it is something that is built through experience. The person who has faced challenges, who has walked into the unknown and emerged stronger, is the person who can handle whatever life throws at them. They are not easily shaken, not easily overwhelmed. They have developed resilience because they have tested themselves against the unpredictable nature of existence and proven that they can endure. There is a reason why stories across cultures emphasize the hero's journey, the tale of an individual who leaves the safety of the known world, ventures into chaos, faces trials, and returns transformed. This is not just mythology, it is a reflection of real life. Growth does not happen in comfort. It happens when you voluntarily confront the challenges that life presents, when you face the uncertainty of the future with courage, rather than retreating into safety. The avoidance of chaos might bring temporary relief, but it also guarantees long-term suffering. The confrontation of chaos, on the other hand, is painful in the short term, but leads to strength, wisdom, and the ability to create meaningful order in your life. Chaos is not something to be feared, but something to be mastered. It is the raw material from which progress is made, the space in which potential is found. Every new opportunity, every major life change, every personal transformation begins with stepping into the unknown. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stagnant is that the former are willing to face chaos head on. They recognize that the fear they feel is not a signal to retreat, but a challenge to overcome. They understand that disorder is not an enemy, but a force that, when engaged with properly, can be shaped into something meaningful. The key is to start small. If your life feels chaotic, identify one area where you can begin imposing order. It might be as simple as organizing your schedule, addressing a difficult conversation you have been avoiding, or committing to a small but consistent habit of self-improvement. The more you take control of the chaos within your reach, the more capable you become of handling larger and more complex challenges. Each victory, no matter how small, builds momentum. Over time, what once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable, and what once seemed impossible becomes achievable. Taking responsibility is one of the most powerful actions a person can take to transform their life. Responsibility is not just about fulfilling obligations. It is about willingly accepting the burdens of existence and choosing to act in a way that improves your circumstances and the circumstances of those around you. Many people avoid responsibility because it is difficult, because it requires effort, and because it means acknowledging that they are in control of their lives. But without responsibility, there is no growth, no improvement, and no meaning. The moment you refuse to take responsibility is the moment you surrender control over your own destiny. People often look for external reasons to explain why their lives are not where they want them to be. They blame their circumstances, their past, the people around them, or society itself. While external factors certainly play a role in shaping a person's life, they do not determine everything. There is always a choice in how to respond, always an opportunity to take action, no matter how small. The mindset of blaming others and avoiding responsibility leads only to resentment, helplessness, and stagnation. It is an easy path, but it is also a path that leads nowhere. The only way to truly move forward is to take ownership of your life, to recognize that while you may not be responsible for everything that happens to you, you are responsible for how you respond. Taking responsibility means facing the uncomfortable truth that your life is, to a large extent, a reflection of your choices. It means admitting that you have made mistakes, that you have weaknesses, and that you have areas where you need to improve. This is not an easy thing to do. It is far easier to avoid self-examination, to distract yourself with entertainment, or to convince yourself that change is impossible. But avoiding responsibility does not free you from its consequences. It only ensures that those consequences will come in the form of regret, missed opportunities, and a life that feels increasingly out of control. There is real power in accepting responsibility. When you take responsibility for your actions, your habits, your mindset, and your future, you put yourself in a position of strength. You stop waiting for circumstances to change and start taking action to change them yourself. This shift in mindset creates a sense of purpose and direction. It allows you to approach life with intention rather than passivity. It also forces you to develop discipline, resilience, and competence, qualities that are essential for success in any area. Taking responsibility does not mean carrying more than you can handle. It does not mean taking on burdens that rightfully belong to others or allowing yourself to be overwhelmed. It means identifying what is within your control and making the decision to improve it. It means setting goals and following through even when it is difficult. It means acknowledging your weaknesses and working to strengthen them. It means owning your mistakes, learning from them, and striving to do better. One of the most significant benefits of responsibility is that it provides meaning. Life is difficult, and suffering is inevitable. But when you take responsibility, suffering is not just something to be endured. It becomes something that can be transformed into progress. When you take responsibility for your own growth, you begin to see challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles. You recognize that hardship, while painful, can also be the catalyst for transformation. This shift in perspective changes everything. Instead of feeling like a victim of circumstance, you become the kind of person who can shape your own future. Responsibility also strengthens relationships. People respect those who take ownership of their actions. When you take responsibility, you become someone who can be trusted, someone who is dependable, and someone who others can rely on. This creates stronger personal and professional relationships built on mutual respect rather than excuses and blame. People who avoid responsibility often find themselves isolated because their inability to be accountable erodes trust. But those who embrace responsibility become leaders, people who inspire others through their actions rather than their words. Taking responsibility also means setting a standard for yourself. It means refusing to settle for mediocrity, refusing to be controlled by laziness, and refusing to make excuses for why things are not as they should be. It is about constantly striving to be better, not because anyone is forcing you to, but because you recognize that improvement is necessary for a fulfilling life. This is a lifelong process. There will always be areas to improve, always new challenges to face, always new responsibilities to take on. But with each step forward, you become stronger, more capable, and more prepared to handle whatever life throws at you. Small acts of responsibility lead to significant change. You do not need to start by trying to change everything at once. You start by taking responsibility for something small. Your daily habits, your mindset, your attitude toward work, your relationships. The more you take ownership of these areas, the more you realize that you are capable of handling even greater responsibilities. Each victory, no matter how minor, builds confidence. It proves that you have control over your life, that you are not powerless, and that your actions matter.